Last week's video was about who's the best operator to solo queue with if you are on attack. And this week's video is going to be on the defender side of things in specific, and yeah, let's get right into it. Starting off, we have Maestro. He has an intel, the ability to maybe kill an attacker with his camera, an amazing gun, impacts for tricking hatches, barb for holding sight, and decent destructing ability. Looking at his gun specifically, his Alda by itself makes him a justifiable pick with 81 bullets. So in those moments where it's a 1vx, you could just pull out and just start spraying like a god. Those impacts will be useful for infiltration on any site, so long as you have the ability to. And the bailiff isn't that bad either. Rotates with the bailiff are pretty hard at times, but for the most part, it's just a lot of time that it consumes. It's not really impossible. Next operator I recommend is Smoke. With the SMG-11, it's a pretty good sidearm to have, and you can spray. The shotgun makes really close-up fights good. Most of the time, you won't even need a lot of shots for that, so you can use most of them for destruction, which is one of the major upsides of bringing a shotgun. And on top of that, those smoke grenades are super good for denying plants and just denying area, which are the two different ways that I consider playing smoke. But besides that, he also has a deployable shield and barbed wire. The deployable shield is really the interesting thing because deployables can make spots like bunker playable, and that's what's really important as a defender. Tachanka is very similar to Smoke, but has more charges, no shoddy, but it's an LMG that has destruction. So that's up to you what you want to do there. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the DP28 or DP27, whatever it's called, and I personally prefer just bringing Smoke. But the Tachanka is better in many ways, so long as you're willing to deal with the slower firing rate, or if you're willing to deal with the SMG, but that's up to you. Mute has drone denial, destruction ability, and an enter cell. Drone denial is very important, especially in this upcoming season where you can 6-pick to another operator on attack. And the ability to destroy things with that shotgun is really good. And he also has a pretty good secondary with SMG-11 as well. And on top of that, he also has the MP5K if you want to do a little roam, which is what I do sometimes. For example, on Coastline, I'll run the MP5K and I'll go downstairs with SMG-11 and MP5K and I'll hold Sunrise sometimes, and that'll just be what happens. Nitro cells are always good for plant denial, but along that same vein we have Mozzie, who denies drones, can potentially get intel from those drones, but you want to make sure you're not on your drones too much because that'll get you killed. You should mainly be using them to set up cam spots for other people. Rarely do you want to be actually droning around the map because it just makes you vulnerable. That Nitro Cell is really good. Sadly, no destruction ability anymore because I took away the Super Shorty a few seasons back. But the Commando and the P10 Roni are both really good in their own right. The P10 Roni has a 950 rate of fire, so if you just hit the head, you're just a god and you're fine. I used to use that, but now I'm just gone. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to use the Commando. Extra bullets and higher damage per shot. So, yeah. Castle is an okay gun. Shotgun secondary. Denies sight. Could be easily broken, but usually it's just avoided if placed correctly. A great example of this is on Bank. If you place those castles down, most of the time people just avoid going for them. And the style that I've actually seen played out is banning Sledge, and therefore making the attackers have to use a breach charge actively, or have to bring Ash or Zofia to just get rid of them. But it just burns away a lot of time if they want to actually break it with punching it, and also is usually just avoided just because you rather just avoid creating that noise and avoid getting your toes shot. Pulse, all in that same vein, is okay gun. You know, has really good intel with his pulse scanner. So, and that Nitro Cell as well makes it really easy for kills. I could probably make a compilation with how many kills I've gotten with that, but I'd have to go through all my clips, and that does not sound like a fun time. But the intel is really good on any site. One example of this is on Consulate on a lobby objective, because Pulse can go below, and you can literally just sit underneath the hatch basically and move around a bit and tell exactly where the attackers are. You can tell basically all the way up to the projector room and outside the balcony, and you can also see, like, you know, and for that plant when it goes down, he can throw that Nitro Cell up and he can get an easy kill. So that's why I think Pulse is a good pick. Bandit and Cade are basically the same here because neither of them have anything really unique. Bandit and Cade, they deny walls, they have really good guns, they have a Nitro Cell, and the biggest difference they really have is that I believe that Bandit's really good on those defenses where you need a roamer, because you can just have Bandit be that roamer and then therefore just forget about it. because then Bandit can do that himself. But with Cade, you're 1 speed, so you have to kind of like play on sight. And I guess another upside of Cade though would actually be the fact that he's a TCSG. Normally I'll bring the TCSG for rotates if no one else wants to play the shotgun. So that's always a good thing to know that you can use is the shotgun. Valk has really good intel, a good gun in the MPX, is basically always useful. There's rarely ever times where she isn't, and that's whenever they bring an IQ, or if they just know your cam spots because you don't know many. But if you want to know more, Pints and Pills has a whole guide on that shit, and so many other places do. But Pints and Pills is really good. There are many places to place the cams. Has a nitrocell, so denying sight is really good. But you can also use those nitrocells to kill people. For example, if you are playing below on Villa and you put a cam in Masters, you can get a nitrocell onto people playing inside of Master. But besides that, you can also play just with the nitrocell however you want and deny sight if you want to anchor theoretically. Another good operator is Echo. He has intel from his drones, which you want to play similarly to Mozzie. But the fact that next season you're going to be able to move them around and be able to get deny plants still with it. And yes, denial of plant is one of the major things with Echo. And the fact that you're going to do that next season is going to be a big change. Besides that, he's a deployable or impact, so you can either use the deployable for some sort of hold, or you can use impact to impact your catch. And then he also has the MP5 and the bearing 9. And the MP5 SD is pretty good, and I can recommend it to anyone basically. But the shotgun also isn't that bad, so if you really feel comfortable with that bearing 9 recoil, I'm personally not, so I can't. But if you really feel comfortable with it, then hell, I can't really say don't go for the Supernova, because the Supernova is not a bad shotgun. Next up is Legion or Malusi. Personally, I don't really like either of these operators for the most part, because Legion with the T95, I'm not a big fan of that gun, but I know a lot of people love it. Malusi has the MP5. It's an okay gun, but her ability is getting nerfed next season. But they do the same job in the sense that they get intel, they can be denial to some extent, and they both have impacts. Malusi has a nitrocell for plant denial, and they both have a slowing effect. So I think they're pretty good operators, but it's kind of up to preference with the guns and stuff, so yeah. Wamai is another really good operator. 2 really good guns in the MP5K and also the AUG. Personally, I just switch between them because they're both super good and you can do anything with them. I'll pick the MP5 if I'm trying to like play, I guess, a tighter spot. But I like the AUG for, I guess, long range gunfights. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, both of them are very unique in their own sense. And there's perks to using both. Because Wamai's AUG is very similar to the 416 and the DPS. But that doesn't make it necessarily better than the MP5, which is a one-shot headshot. So, yeah. Nade Denial is good always. The Impact and Destructive Pistol, the Kratos, is very good. And you can use those to make impact holes for impact tricking. And yeah, the reason why Jaeger isn't here is because of the fact that he lacks too many categories now in comparison to Wamai. And he's kind of just a frag operator, but not like, I don't know, I really can't recommend him just because he only brings ADSs, which you can really do the job with Wamai magnets at the same rate considering they're coordinated. But also Wamai captures Capital bullets and other things as well. And on top of that, that wasn't enough as is, Jaeger only brings barbed, while Wamai can bring impacts for impact tricking. So in my opinion, there's no real reason why you should bring Wamai over Jaeger unless you're in a team comp, like with an actual team. But that's just my preference. Then finally, we have Goyu. Until the Goyu rework comes out, Goyu has 2 shields for Plant Denial. Not still for Plant Denial. 2 really good guns in the TCSG and also the Vector. And he also has a pretty solid pistol. And just all around is a really good operator. I think when that rework comes out, I think that'll definitely be nerfed. But I still think he'll be somewhat viable because he can still be used as denial. Because I think that if he gets reworked, they're going to do something with his shield. Or not his shield, but his canisters. Because he needs some sort of balancing there. Because 2 is not enough. But 3 would be, I would think, a bit too much. Especially if he's a nitrocell still. But what's good about that is if with those 2 jerry cans, if they're just jerry cans, he can actually use those for plant denial. For example, on Cafe for default, you put them there, and then your team, when they go for plant, your teammates shoot that, and it denies plant. Or use them as Ares denial, similarly to how you use smoke because they last for some amount of time. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on why Go's a good pick. And that just about wraps up the video. I want to say thank you guys so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. Almost as much as I appreciate Rogue Energy. Did you know Rogue Energy is one of the cheapest drinks in the market, only $1 per serving? It also has 0 calories and 0 sugar. They also have a new flavor coming out this month that they have yet to announce. But also, they are rebranding their tubs. Go and buy some with the code RWE in the Rogue Energy store for 10% off. And it supports us, and we'd love you for it. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Peace. Because this video is coming out tomorrow, I feel it's only appropriate that I at least tell you guys about how Cajun is no longer part of RWE, at least temporarily. He'll be back soon, I hope, but he's taking a little break, and we're gonna have a little video coming out for him on Monday. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, boys. Peace out.